You ever just stop and wonder why these massive, devastating financial bubbles happen again and again? I mean, we see the wreckage, we hear all the stories, but the real reason, it usually gets totally missed. So let's get into it, because the answer is probably not what you think.
Think about this. When the dot-com bubble burst, poof, it wiped out $6.2 trillion in household wealth. That is just a mind-bending amount of money to vanish into thin air.
And then you'd think we'd learn, right? But not even a decade later, the housing bubble collapsed. And this time, it vaporized an even bigger number, more than $8 trillion. Real lives, real families, just crushed. Twice.
So it really begs the question, doesn't it? Why can't we seem to learn our lesson? What is the fundamental force that keeps driving these insane cycles of boom and, inevitably, bust?
Now, the easy answer, the one you always hear, is just, greed. Simple human greed. But today, we're going to look past that, because it's kind of lazy, and there's a much more powerful and useful insight waiting for us.
So, Morgan Housel, the author of the book we're drawing from, has this core idea that is absolutely crucial here. No one is crazy. And what he means is that the decisions that look totally bonkers in hindsight, well, they actually made some kind of sense to the people making them in that moment. And that's exactly why blaming everything on greed is a dead end. Yeah, sure, it's part of the mix, but stopping there means we never understand the real mechanics of a bubble. It lets us off the hook from learning the one lesson that could actually protect us the next time around. Okay, so if it's not just greed, what is that bigger picture? Well, it all comes down to a really simple but profound idea. Investors are all playing different financial games, a lot of the time on the very same field. Let's break down what that actually means. This right here, this is where the danger creeps in. Bubbles don't just form because people get greedy. They inflate when investors with one set of goals and one time frame start taking their signals from other investors who have completely different goals and time frames. And the scary part is, they often don't even realize it. Let me ask you a question, just to illustrate this. What is the one single right price for a share of Google stock right now? The truth is, there isn't one. The right price depends entirely on who you are and what game you're playing.
I mean, think about the different players out there. You've got a day trader who just needs the price to tick up a tiny bit by lunchtime. The company's long-term value, totally irrelevant to their game. But then you have someone saving for retirement with like a 30-year horizon. For them, the only thing that matters is the company's future earnings power. It's the same exact stock, but they are playing by completely different rule books. And this is why a price that looks absolutely absurd to one person can seem perfectly logical to someone else. The long-term investor sees a ridiculously high price, but the short-term trader just sees a wave of momentum they can ride for a couple of hours. Different games, different realities. The real trouble, the real danger, starts when these different games being played on the same field start to smash into each other. This is where the damage really happens. A bubble really begins to inflate when that short-term momentum starts attracting so much money that the traders, they start to dominate. Their short-term behavior starts setting the price for everyone, even the people who are trying to play a much, much longer game.
And we saw this exact pattern play out during the dot-com bubble. Trading volumes hit all-time highs. The average mutual fund was turning over its entire portfolio every 8 months. Day trading became like a national sport. The market's entire focus had shrunk from years down to mere hours. And it wasn't just stocks. The same pattern took hold during the housing bubble. Look at this chart on house flipping that's buying and selling a property in less than a year. It exploded, a 5-fold increase in just 4 years. These weren't families looking for a forever home. Do you think for a second these flippers cared about long-term rental income or the local economy? Of course not. Their game was brutally simple. Is the price going to be higher next month than it is this month? And for years, the answer was yes. So their crazy behavior looked smart. It was being rewarded. And this is the moment of collision. Picture it. It's 1999. A day trader buys Cisco stock at $60. For them, totally reasonable price. They plan to sell it at 61 by 4 p.m. But then a long-term investor, saving for their kids' college, sees that price and thinks, wow, the price is 60, everyone must know something I don't. And they buy in. For them, buying at that price is a complete disaster in the making. 2 players, 1 field, 1 catastrophic, blindsided collision. So after all that, what's the lesson for you and me? Well, it's about being intensely, unapologetically aware of the game we are personally playing and refusing to get distracted by everyone else on the field. And hey, this isn't just about investing in stocks. Think about just everyday spending. You see your neighbor buy a fancy new car, but you don't see their salary or their debt or their goals. You're taking cues from someone playing a totally different life game, and it can trick you into making bad decisions for yourself. At the end of the day, it really comes down to this. You have to define your own time horizon and then stick to it. Resisting that powerful urge to follow the actions of people who are not playing your game, that is one of the most critical skills you can have with money, period. So how do you actually do it? It's a pretty simple 2-step process. First, just take the time to really identify your game. Are you saving for a down payment in 2 years or retirement in 30? And second, write it down. Actually create a personal mission statement for your money. So, for example, here's the author's personal mission statement. It's clear, it's concise, but way more important, it acts as a filter. With this written down as his guide, news about a potential recession next quarter or what the market did yesterday, it becomes totally irrelevant. It's just noise from a different game he isn't playing. And that brings us right to the final and most important question. So I'll leave you with this. Take a minute and really think about it. What financial game are you actually playing? Because knowing the answer, that's your single best defense against getting swept up in the next bubble.